Got my eyes straight ahead, got my head in the game. With the red light on, I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low. Well, I've been keeping a track of this freedom of information or misinformation bill that's been slowly making its way through Australian government, through the kind of the media, doing the rounds. It's like they're just slowly drip feeding us information because they know very well that Australians are going to be very much against this, that media is going to be pushing back. But it seems like if they just drip feed us information, tell us little bits and pieces about what they want, what's going on, then they can slowly get people. Just my opinion, it seems like they do this thing, they drip feed us because then they slowly get people used to the idea. However, more people seem to be pushing back. I think in the long run, it'll all come through because I think that's it's really the goal anyways, to have it no matter what the Australian public's opinion on it. It is their goal to have this misinformation bill. Of course, the biggest problem with this misinformation bill is all you do is have other people deciding what is misinformation, what is disinformation. And as we saw during the pandemic period, the people who were deciding what is misinformation and disinformation were themselves not just being deceived, but were being deceitful and passing on misinformation, disinformation. And then when you were, if you had the nous to go and actually find out the truth or sit there and question things, well, then they were saying, well, misinformation, disinformation, you're sowing doubts. Who are you to be talking? Who are you to say, to ask questions? Anyway, let's just go through this article, just explaining a bit more about what's happening at the moment. So Labor is to overhaul misinformation bill after objections over freedom of speech. Of course, there are much bigger issues here, but this is just one of the starting points. Eventually, the control of information is where it's all at. Controlling it, being able to disseminate information how they want, and not having the people question, just being docile little lambs, just heading to the slaughter. Basically, the Albanese government will overhaul a draft bill targeting misinformation and disinformation online after strong pushback against the proposal. It will also delay introducing this legislation into Parliament until 2024. The draft legislation released for consultation earlier this year would have allowed the Australian Communications and Media Authority to require social media companies to toughen their policies on content that is false, misleading, or deceptive, and where the provision of that content on the service is reasonably likely to cause or contribute to serious harm. Now, I don't have to tell any of you that, they're going to require social media companies to toughen their policies, which just leads us to social media companies deciding what the misinformation or what the disinformation is. They will suddenly be deciding again, and they already do it, what is wrong. And who are they? And the problem is they are the cause of the problem. They set up these companies and decide, no, what you're saying is false. They shape the false narrative. They shape the lies. They shape the lies. If you dare question anything, well then, hey, you're conspiracy theorists. You're spreading disinformation. Pretty soon, not very far down the track, you're going to be facing jail sentences, jail terms, if it's decided that you have been feeding disinformation, dishonest information. And who are the ones that decide it is dishonest or deceiving or disinformation? It's them. They are the regulators. The consultation drew 23,000 responses, including 3,000 submissions, many of which were critical of the bill. The large response also came after campaigns against the bill from the coalition, One Nation, and former LNP MP George Christensen. The aim was to give ACMA more powers to enforce an already in place voluntary industry code that includes companies such as Meta, X, which formerly Twitter, Microsoft, and Google. Now, we do remember that even X, or Elon Musk, who was virtually just X, really, he just spent billions of dollars so he can have his own platform to say whatever. He pointed out, he'd given us the information and shown us how companies like Facebook or Meta and other companies had stifled information, stifled information getting out there, such as the Biden laptop scenario. Okay, they'd stifled the information. They said, no, this is a fake narrative, fake story. A couple of years later, oh, hello, wait up. We've proven now that it is actually true. But it's too late now. The effect that it would have had when the information first came to light, if they hadn't have stifled the story, could have really affected the American election, to a much greater degree, obviously. Not to mention the fact that it overlooked, it overlooked the issues of illegal behavior by the now president's son, and some illegal activity that maybe the now president, Smokey Joe, might have been a party to, might have had knowledge of. So, they've already had this coming in where they can decide what the misinformation is, and they've done the wrong thing. But no, they want to give them more power. Want to go back to that where they give them more power. Going back to this, those opposed claimed companies would over-censor. Remember what happened? During the COVID plan. They would over-censor to avoid being fined by ACMA, which would gain information gathering powers, and could also fine individuals and companies for providing false evidence during this process, up to 6.875 million. Sorry, is that 6.875 million, or crikey, 5% of global turnover? Whichever one's the difference. On Sunday, the Communications Minister, Michelle Rowland, said the government would take on board the responses in the public consultation and would improve the bill. You actually don't need the bill, but they're just going to change it anyway. They're going to keep it. The government is considering refinements to the bill, including to definitions, exemptions, and clarification on religious freedom, among other things. This obviously also helps lead me to one of the main issues I've got with this bill. They're deciding with religious freedom. Obviously, we've got a lot of groups now that take umbrage with that take issue with things that are said in the Bible. People overlook anything that might be said in I won't even say the name of it, but in that other religious text, which is followed by 1 billion or so people around the world. People overlook that, but people are obviously very much getting insulted by scripture in the Bible. We're going to see a clampdown, and I've been saying this for a long time. We're going to see a clampdown on the Bible. I believe this is eventually leading to the Bible being declared a book of hate speech. We've already seen nations like China rewrite the Bible just for their own for their own needs, for their own desires, to suit their own will. But we're going to see the Bible declared as hate speech, I believe, and I think this is that bills like this are going to be used for things like that. So continuing on, She said the government remained committed to holding powerful digital platforms to account for seriously harmful misinformation and disinformation on their services. In the face of seriously harmful content that sows division, undermines support for pillars of our democracy, or disrupts public health responses, doing nothing is not an option. Under the proposed legislation, ACMA would not direct companies to remove pieces of content, but rather focus on the processes the company has in place to tackle misinformation. ACMA Chair Narida O'Loughlin told Senate estimates last month. Wow. So basically, they are just going to be deciding what is misinformation and disinformation, uh, putting up the penalties to seriously hold back public debate. Do not sow any kind of seeds of dissent. Do not question anything. Don't you dare not believe the narrative that the government has put out. Now, let's just go back to one thing, just one thing over the last couple of years that's come to light. Put aside what happened with the American election, even though a lot of people still believe, and there is a lot of evidence, not just people's opinions, evidence to show that the election was tampered with by who knows, the little fairies out there tampered with the election. Forget that. The narrative, let's go back to the narrative of the pandemic. The narrative by all governments, by our government especially, and other Western governments, was that the pandemic was completely accidental. It was just an act of nature. And, the fact that it started in a certain area in China, and that right next door to that little wet market where it all came out of was this other laboratory where they actually produced the very virus that was affecting, killing a lot of people around the world. Just coincidence? That's just one massive coincidence. Don't sow any seeds of misinformation, disinformation. Don't question the narrative. There is no way, uh, a little laboratory in China where the security is not so tough. There's no way there would have been a leak. Obviously, it all came out of just coincidentally, just an act of nature from the wet market next door. And don't you dare question it. We have to go along with the government narrative. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. They want us to go along with the government narrative. Eventually, this will lead to the Bible being declared a book of hate speech, and it will be banned. I would suggest you start getting your own Bibles if that's what you want to do. If you believe in the Bible, if you're a Christian, I would suggest you you take steps to be able to read the Word of God yourself in the future. Anyway, these are the things. This is where it's going. They continue to treat us like idiots. The Australian government says, oh, yeah, okay, well, we're going to seriously listen to the Australian public. But we all know that they will push this through no matter what. It will go down this road, and it's just about them controlling the information, controlling the narrative. Well, they say it's to help stem the flow of harmful content. That is just a load of crock. It is to help them be able to control the narrative and put out this, to be able to control the narrative that they want, and stifle free speech within this nation. That is my opinion. And if you can change my mind on that, tell me, say something, let me know, add a comment, tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong, that this is not just the government trying to stifle, not just stifle, actually, it's not a strong enough word, is it? They're just trying to prevent free speech and trying to completely control the narrative. And they will be the authors of the false narrative in the future. Tell me, explain to me why I'm wrong. Anyway, it's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. I'm Jay Fallon. Thanks for listening to The Slippery Slope. Also, thanks for listening to my music on Spotify and Apple Music. Pretty cool. And thanks for listening. They just fuel a desire that will take me higher. I'm on fire because nothing's going